Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 24th of October for the Sun or the Ascendant. This is a crackerjack week. There's so much going on. I'm really excited to share it with you. What I'm going to do is give you the overall strands which influence us all collectively, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you each of the 12 zodiac signs in much greater detail, from Aries through to Pisces. So as we start this week, Saturn has ended its retrograde, but it remains in a very attritional right angle with Uranus. So I need to explore that for each of the signs. We also have the Sun and Venus have moved together into the sign of Scorpio. Now, the Sun in Scorpio is very much about transformations. It's where we're most invested or devoted. But Venus technically is not at its best in the sign of Scorpio. But of course, it did have that magical connection with the Sun last Saturday, where they were exactly side by side. So the potential to continue a dialogue around a relationship matter is there, but I think what we get now is much more into the deeper analysis, the real politic of what some relationships are about, and perhaps the real politic about our longer term financial situation too. Now, of course, we have the partial solar eclipse on Tuesday, which on the face of it does give us some opportunities. But it works in tandem with the total lunar eclipse of the 8th of November, which is truly astonishingly tough. So I think we are about to see a massive reset globally. When it comes to energy consumption, the price of things, the cost of fuel and foodstuffs have all been going up, but I don't think we've seen the end of how this restructuring is going to play out. However, on Friday, Jupiter, the planet of growth, retreats in its retrograde back into one of the two signs that it governs, the sign of Pisces, where its rulership is a much more spiritual dimension. It's going to continue the retrograde until November the 23rd, but it will stay in Pisces through to the 20th of December and return to Aries. So there may be something of a deep and contemplative strand that we really need to consider quite carefully through this change. Now on Sunday, Mars slams on the brakes, goes into a retrograde through to the 12th of January. But it's going to stay in the sign of Gemini through to the 25th of March. But for the whole of October, the whole of November, it is within 3 degrees in a square with Neptune. And that's creating quite a lot of distortion. So that's something else I need to explore for each of the 12 signs for you. So please stay with me. You can see an enormous amount of celestial action. If you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you would like to understand what year 2023 will hold for you personally, if you give me 3 pieces of your birth data, of time, date and place, I can give you your forecast for next year, but if you order it in 22, you'll get the rest of this year 3. But in my special package, you can also get your life roadmap, your character analysis, which can help you to understand some of the repetitive patterns in your existence, but also how you can perhaps change some of the more challenging ones, but also work with the more encouraging energy in a much more productive way. And there's 30% off. Please see the link below. So Libra, your week commencing the 24th of October forecast sees that transition of the Sun and your ruler Venus into your second solar house. Now, of course, the current financial climate is incredibly challenging for many of us. But you know, there could be opportunities for you over the next half year if you play your celestial cards right. This is not a time to necessarily be too free and easy with resources. You do have an appreciation of finery and nice things, and that may need to be tempered in the short term. But equally, you could find yourself wanting to assuage some of the pressures by comfort eating at the present time. So we have to be aware that Venus is technically detrimented in Scorpio, but I feel for some scales there could be some good financial news, unexpectedly so, but it could come in the next few weeks or months. The key is not spending any newfound gains too freely. It's demonstrating a greater level of care around resources for us all collectively, but particularly for yourself, because if you do manage your resources astutely, there can be an improvement. Now, of course, Mercury in your sign is giving you a big push to be singularly minded in your approach, but it is being challenged by the heavyweight Pluto in your fourth house. That repeating theme of trying to find your voice or get your needs heard by those closest to you could still be an issue with that particular aspect. But Saturn has ended that wounding, rather draining retrograde at the end of last week, and it does mean that when it comes to expressing your skills, your talents, your flair, or even your affection, there is a much more allowing environment. But there is still that clash, that tense clash with Uranus, goes on through to the first week of December within 3 degrees. Uranus is in the part of your horoscope to do with longer term finance, and also where you're most invested emotionally or most passionate. So if there is somebody that you're finding very mesmeric and attractive, I think Saturn continues to say to you, however much you're drawn to this person, and the sensuality of life could be very attractive on this particular eclipse because of the more Tauran energy of Venus. I think it's just try to be really realistic about maybe the things that aren't quite as you'd like them to be in terms of any attractions that may be developing. Now, Jupiter does leave your sector of relating and moves into your sector of work and sacrifice, but it does continue the retrograde. Maybe there's some rethinking to be done around your everyday life structure, maybe around your physical health and exercise regimes. But Neptune in that area continues that very tricky right angle with Mars in your sector of escapism and travel. So as much as you may want to do things that are exciting and stimulating and also to do things spontaneously, whether you've got the physical vitality to actually do it is another matter, because I feel that Neptune has been draining Mars and Mars's drive really pretty well since the start of when Mars went into Gemini on the 20th of August, because at that point for you, Mercury was tucked away in your 12th house. So it could be that your nervous system has been a bit lower in vitality. So the fact that Mars goes into a retrograde at the end of this week just suggests that if you are wanting to open up your world in any way, you need to be realistic about the resources or the vitality that you have to actually drive that to actually happen. But I think the partial solar eclipse does offer some real possibilities for you.